Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Field of Dishonor by David Weber, the fourth book in the Honor Harrington series. I actually interviewed Mr. Weber and a few other writers for the What Price Victory book that came out recently, and you can see that on my channel. And when we were prepping for the interview, Mr. Weber made very clear to point out that it's Honor Harrington. You have to pronounce the H in their last name. So this is the fourth book, Field of Dishonor. I've read the first three books and reviewed them on the channel, and I'll basically go over them. First book, On Basilisk Station. I thought was a very entertaining book, and the themes and the characterization were great. However, it was a little bit long, I thought. Then I had, which apparently the books get way longer after this. Then you had The Honor of the Queen, and this book had some amazing moments and some great questions, and actually tells about the type of story I would have guessed had to happen in the Honor Harrington universe, but it tells it pretty early on for it. Then you have the book The Short Victorious War, which is just like this epic battle, like setup book that just sets up all these fantastic elements and has this great space battle towards the end. And then you have the fourth book, Field of Dishonor. And I had no idea what way this new book would go, this fourth book, although I had heard some people like Brian Lee Durfee say it was their favorite book, which got me kind of excited. And I understand why, because so far, this is the best Honor Harrington novel thus far. I mean, this is a superb novel, a superb novel. I can't believe how good this was. Just from the get-go, when this book is introducing itself and you understand the plot, you are just like, okay, I'm here. I need to find out what happens too, because you've spent the first three books really getting invested in this. And so this review is going to have light spoilers for the Honor Harrington universe thus far. So if you haven't read any Honor Harrington novels, maybe don't watch this review. But if you are a little bit familiar, you'll probably be able to handle this. But this is just the premise of this book. You have the character Pavel Young, who has been just terrorizing Honor Harrington for most of her adult life, and he tried to do things to her when they were at the academy, and then he tried to set her up at Basilisk Station, and then in the last book, in The Short Victorious War, he tries to run away. He tries to abandon his post as captain of his ship, and eventually Honor gets him in trouble. And she tells him to come back, and he doesn't, and so she basically tells the Admiralty about it, and they court-martial him. And the first third of this book is about the court-martial of one Pavel Young. And throughout the whole story, you know that his father is a really high-up politician. And so his father spends all of his time trying to protect his son and trying to rally support behind his son. Meanwhile, Honor is really, eager. She's not involved in the beginning of the book, but she's really eager to see him get punished because he's done a lot of terrible things to her throughout her life. And so you follow the trial and you see how the political factions form around this trial. And then the trial itself is really brief, but the background of the trial, the before and after the trial, really feels like a John Grisham book. I've been reading the John Grisham books recently. They're excellent, and this book really has that feeling towards the beginning of a John Grisham book and the whole trial setup. So you have the big trial, and the trial ends in a really unique way. And I won't spoil what that is if you haven't read the book, but the trial ends in a really unique way that is just really like, oh, that's interesting that you would do it that way. So I loved it. But then the second two-thirds of the book takes on a new type of storytelling device. Rather than just being the trial, it now becomes a kind of a fallout book. What does Honor do after the trial? What are the political ramifications? What are the social ramifications? What are the personal ramifications for her? She has to go back to Grayson and handle some stuff back on Grayson, which you see in the previous books. And then you also see the the Young family, how Pavel Young's family reacts, and his factions, how his factions reacts. And this basically, the end of this book becomes a revenge storyline of people trying to get revenge for what happens in the trial. And I would actually equate, even though there's not too much space ship stuff, which actually I kind of liked that there wasn't too much spaceship stuff happening here, despite the fact that it actually felt really a lot like one of the Horatio Hornblower stories. Now, I have not yet gotten into C.S. Forrester's Horatio Hornblower books, but I did watch the TV series that A&E did, and the whole second half of this book feels like an entire plot of the first episode of that series. And it just, the whole revenge and duel, that's all I'll say about it. The dual plot line is just so well done. And you see Honor have to deal with, does she want revenge for something? Or does she want justice? Or is she willing to accept the political ramifications and ease off? And you see the different characters around her. You have Admiral Whitehaven, who is just, or Earl Whitehaven, as he's also known, just a fantastic character. You get to see the Queen Elizabeth III, in this book. That was interesting to see. And you see how Honor's friends react to her. There are some friends, some other characters from the first couple of books that actually reappear, and they don't have major roles, but they have minor roles, and it was very nice to see them back in the story. And of course, Honor's love interest, Paul Tankersley, plays a major part of this story as well. And it's just everything about this book I just felt was very well constructed. And even the ending had me like, I need to find out what happens next. It was enough that this book pays off everything within it in a way, and yet leaves things open that need to be finished in future stories, just the way a true serialized storytelling should do. I mean, it does everything this book is supposed to do. It's entertaining, it's very thought-provoking, it does some things new while some things are old. I mean, I am just floored at how much I enjoyed this book. Like, I read it in like 2 days. I just breezed through it. It was so easy. The previous books, On Basilisk Station, I was loving, but I was sick when I was reading it, so it took me like 2 weeks to read. And then the other books, The Honor of the Queen and The Short Victorious War, took me some time just because I just couldn't get into them. I was having so much trouble just even understanding scene by scene what was happening. That is not the case with Field of Dishonor. Cover to cover, understood it, loved it, totally got into it. I'm a huge Honor Harrington fan now. Cannot wait to read more in this universe. And I'll be reading more in the months to come. And I have most of the books already that I bought. I found a lot of them cheap at the used bookstore. So if you've read the book Field of Dishonor, what did you think of it? What did you think of the outcome of the trial? What did you think of the whole revenge storyline? What did you think of the whole duel storyline? Let me know all those thoughts down below. And what upcoming books that I haven't read yet are your favorites and least favorites? Let me know all that in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.